There we go. Welcome, everybody, back to the channel. I'm Tobias Josephson. This is our channel for Paranormal Witchcraft LLC. Holy crap, there's a lot of people in here. This is the channel where we approach the paranormal differently. Last time we were talking about current events. We'll tie those in tonight as we go. All right. I have a suspicion that the amount of fear narratives going around in the world are causing a lot of distension, especially among folks on social media. But anyways, so I titled tonight The Age of Uncertainty. All right. So as paranormal investigators, as human beings, all right, as witches, if you're a witch like me, all right, doesn't matter what you do on this planet, all right, your future's being threatened in some form, some silent manner, right? And if you look around, you can see it and you can feel it, and nobody wants to talk about it. Something feels off right now, and everybody knows it, all right? People are more reactive than they've ever been, more defensive, more on edge. Sometimes it seems for no reason. This isn't about politics. This isn't about religion. It isn't about the news. These are just outlets we're using to express our frustrations and our disdain and our contempt and whatever it is we're posting. The real problem, ourselves. We have problems. People don't feel in control of their own lives anymore. They don't feel like they can do anything with any certainty. And when people don't feel like they're in control anymore, they don't slow down, they go faster, they try harder, they get louder. They don't reflect, they react. Right? Now, if you tie that into paranormal investigation, we are paranormal investigators and researchers because we are here to observe the world around us in the paranormal industry. We're here to observe, we're here to reflect, we're not here to react to something that hasn't happened yet in paranormal investigations. Remember, Paranormal Witchcraft LLC, containment over chaos, evidence over egos. And the faster people react, the less they really understand what they're reacting to. It could be a news story, it could be anything. Why does everything feel more intense lately? Don't know. Just does. Why are people snapping faster than they used to? Why does disagreement instantly turn into conflict? Most people don't actually know what they're afraid of right now. They just know they don't feel okay. Life doesn't feel right. It feels off. It feels wrong. Something's just not adding up in the planet. Most people don't even actually know what they're afraid of right now. They just know they don't feel okay. And when you don't understand your fear, it controls you. We talk about that in the paranormal investigation field. Instead of storytelling, we're here to observe. We're here to observe. Sorry, I was going to say react. And we're here to study. We're here to see what happens with the paranormal. We're not here to initiate things with the paranormal per se. And people weren't built to handle this much instability across the planet at once. This is the age of uncertainty. Nobody really knows where our future's going. Right? A lot of us have a lot of opinions on what we think we know. But I can guarantee you, even I or you don't fully know the truth. We just have an idea. All right. And it upsets us all. Even when nothing specific is happening, people are turned up right now. You can see it in the way they drive. So people stay alert because they think if they stay alert, they'll see things coming, right? Especially when you're in fear, you start getting more tense. You start looking around more. All right. Something's causing it, right? Because you're assuming danger. But what if there's really just no danger? It's just presented as dangerous. All right. And most people are off to the races. This is happening in the world. This is happening in the world. This is happening in the world. My fear is going to control me, and I don't even know why. All right. Now, if you're a paranormal investigator, same thing. All right. Are you storytelling, right? Looking to react to something that may not be there, right? Because you think you know what it is. You think you know what's going on. You think you see the truth. But do you? Are you reacting because your friends are reacting? Are you reacting because everyone else is reacting? Or are you reacting because you're generally concerned? Don't know. Be honest. Do you feel more on edge lately? I do. I know a lot of my friends do. Life's tight. It's hard. It's a struggle just to get through day to day. Small things bother people more than they used to. Everything escalates faster. So I titled it The Age of Uncertainty. The shift is happening. People are confused. People think they know the truth. Some people know the truth. Some people know disinformation is truth. And everybody is calling it the truth. And that's a problem. A fearful world doesn't need a single cause, right? People will start assigning blame for everything in their world, right? If you tie that back to the paranormal investigation scene, a lot of the people do the same thing. They'll ascribe a storyline to an investigation before anything's happened because a fearful world doesn't need a cause. You see how we're tying that in? The real world into paranormal investigating. If you have a fear-driven narrative for your paranormal investigation, all right, more people will show up because of fear, the adrenaline spike. They'll be curious. They'll have to know, right? But in the real world, there's nothing but fear right now. It's this government or that government or this thing that's going on or this weather pattern or this agenda or this group of people, whatever it is you're watching online or wherever you get your mainstream news. People who feel unstable all the time seem to be happier right now. Don't know why. Most people don't need protection from the world. They need to learn how to stabilize themselves inside it right now. That's why I titled it The Age of Uncertainty. It's kind of a pun towards The Age of Ultron, I think is where I got that title from, the movie. But the mass think tank experiment on social media is what's got the world on fire, all right? Because everybody doesn't like what they're seeing in the news, including me, all right? But it's not going to help any of us by going to social media and posting it all day long so the rest of the world can tell you their opinion of it. How is that ever going to find a solution to our problems? It's not. It's just going to continue the fear narrative. It's the beginning of the ends of the world, and we know it, but I feel fine. I don't know what everyone else is so freaked out about, but hey, right? Most people aren't me. Most people aren't Chris. Most people believe what they see. Most people believe what they read before they investigate it and find it to be true, especially right now in the age of AI, the age of uncertainty. You can't tell who's real, can't tell who's telling the truth. Okay? Now you add the world's dynamic and the world's problems and its instability, and now you have a circus, all right? A literal circus. It's what we live in now. It's a circus. Here's the truth: a fearful world doesn't need a single cause. Look at social media. That's a great example of it. People over there don't need a cause to bitch and moan and complain and post political this or religious that. They just do it because they live in fear and they're controlled by that thing. And they can't stop renting space in their head over that one story. It's going to ruin their entire future. They're going to spend every single one of their days, every day, like today and tomorrow and the next day, and they're just going to focus on what they're seeing in the news. And they can't be happy until it is solved. And it is their responsibility to make sure the world knows how unhappy they are about it. That doesn't solve the problem. Really doesn't. It fans the problem. It creates a bigger problem when you join the rest of the world. It's not activism. It's mass think tank mentality. That's all it is. It's monkey see, monkey do. Most people are joining in just because everyone else is. Right? Most people don't need protection from the world. They need to learn how to stabilize themselves right now. You can't stop what's happening in the world right now, humans. I can't, Chris can't, all my other friends and family can't. We can't. There's nothing we can do about it. We can post and we can bitch, but everybody's doing that. When you live in that kind of fear, you should be addressing that personally. If you are finding yourself one of those people on social media where you just can't stop talking about the news, you have a personal problem emotionally. Getting mad at what you see on the news and making a post is not going to fix your life. Might make you feel better for 10 seconds. But let me tell you something that you don't want to hear. Nobody else on the planet feels the way you do, but you. Remember that. Everyone on social media thinks everyone around them is just like them. That is not true. We're all different people. That's where all the disdain comes from. That's why that fear narrative never goes away, because there's too many people that can't let go of their fears. But you don't understand, Tobias, this, but you don't understand, Tobias, that. Yes, I do. I'm one of you. I have more struggles in my personal life than people would want to know, to be honest with you. But is that going to do me any good? Or is it going to do you guys any good to post about it all day long? That my body hates me, that I have migraines? No. So why would you post on political or religious stuff? It's going to do the same thing. It's going to get looked over, or it's going to create an argument, and then you're not going to like it. So why do you do it? Because somewhere deep down inside, you are being ruled by a sense of fear in one of your emotions or one of your security factors, financial, personal, or otherwise. When you view as something as being threatened, you're going to get loud. But the whole world is being loud right now. That's the problem. Nobody's being quiet. Nobody's observing. Everybody's simply reacting. And that does nobody any good right now. You're reacting because you think they're going to change their minds. They're not. They never do. Decade in and decade out, hundreds of years, thousands of years of our history. And we use the same human principles and the same human tactics in every generation, in every age of humanity. Why? Because we can't get over the fact that we know that fear will control us. Somehow, some way. Why not just admit it? Right? Instead of posting what you don't like on the news, why doesn't everybody go over there and just post the truth about themselves? I am afraid. That's what you're saying when you post like that. I am afraid or I am mad. And those two emotions don't ever do anyone any good in life when it comes to surviving. Getting mad, you lose control of your emotions. All right. And people can take advantage of you because you're not keeping yourself stable. You're all over the board now. Your rage is showing. Your victim is showing. Your anxieties are showing. Now, tie it back to the paranormal investigation. We're paranormal investigators here at Paranormal Witchcraft LLC. All right. If you let your fear control you on an investigation, what happens? You lose control of your investigation, and now you're reacting and storytelling. You have no credible evidence. You might look good on camera, but that doesn't take away from the fact that you haven't proved a damn thing about the paranormal. You've just talked a lot about it. There's where you'll see the fear pattern in the paranormal, right? How are you, Chris? Good? Good, good, good. We had 12 people right off the bat, which was weird. So that's the thing is you'll see that. Like our first couple podcasts, we had up to 50 people on here. You did, I don't know if you could see it, but I could. But that's the thing is there's people that troll YouTube. There's people that do nothing but troll TikTok, troll Instagram, troll Facebook. And that's all they do is jump on people's posts. And they call that being somebody. They call that being a good person. No, that's social media think tank behavior. You're doing it because everyone else does it. And because you're frustrated and they're frustrated, you're going to join the cause, even though you're two totally separate people that could be separated almost by the entire world. But yet you seem to have a common bond in fear. I don't watch politics because politics has always been the same. It's gotten worse, yes, but it's always been the same fundamentally. Same thing with the religious. It's always been the same. They're a little more louder lately, but that's it to me. That's it. It's fear. The religious are afraid of witches. Why? Because we know things they don't want us to know. Don't know, right? Or if you look at the political, right? You have people that they have to be one side or the other. It has to be, or you just can't be a political person. Why? Right? Fear. Because you're afraid if you don't choose, right? And either way, look at it this way: no matter what you choose, you're wrong to the next person. No matter what I choose, I'm wrong to somebody else tonight. Doesn't matter how I say it, how many times I say it to try to reiterate my point. There's always going to be someone that says you're wrong. They are ruled by fear. There is no one single human that has the control over all truth on the planet. Not one human. Right? There's a lot of people that think they know it all. There's a lot of people that say they have a lot of knowledge, but even they don't know it all. All right, those people are professors, instructors, etc., experts. But even they keep an open mind, so they learn something new every day, which is a place most humans should be operating from. But we've long forgotten that standard thanks to the internet. So right now, the world's on fire. Right? We can all agree on that at least tonight. All right, the world's on fire. We're all going to hell. We're on the precipice of some kind of huge disagreement between governments or countries. All right, there's thousands of other things wrong in the news. All right, and what does it do? Rent space in your head, because that's all it's designed to do. Because as soon as we stop tuning in to the mainstream outlets, they no longer have a job. They're obsolete. When you stop watching CNN, when you stop watching Fox, when you stop watching Reuters or whoever the hell it is you get your news from, all right, those people no longer have a job. They no longer matter. Most of them are part of the disinformation campaign, anyways. There's something to be said for this new age where people are trying to go after and get their own knowledge. I'll agree with that. That's it. That's all I'll say about it. But for the most part, people aren't using it AI in the right manner. They're using it to self-diagnose. They're using it to play games. They're using it to create shit that doesn't really matter. Right? It's meant to be a learning tool to make us better. All right. Instead of using it all day long like it's a video game, like it's the newest thing since Xbox. Ooh, AI, chat, Grok, any number of them, right? Right. Anyways, so paranormal investigation. You should have fear when something legitimate happens. Like if a demon really does manifest itself in front of me, you bet your ass I'm going to be afraid. All right, and it will be reactive, but it won't be the fake storytelling that's purported as real evidence that you'll see across the board right now, right? Because that fear narrative is what sells, right? It's like sex, it sells, right? It's illegal to use it in that context, but it gets people's attention because we're so desensitized. We can't be bothered by the mundane anymore. It has to have bells and whistles, or our tiny little brains can't pay attention to it, right? That's a form of being controlled, my friends. Anyways, and when you're controlled, you're living in fear. Hefty words, I know. But that's why we say Paranormal Witchcraft LLC, containment over chaos. Control yourselves. Regulate your emotions. Regulate your body. Regulate how you facilitate your investigations. Use ethics, right? Don't come from a place of fear, and don't come to the paranormal looking to be afraid like it's a sideshow gag, like it's just going to a haunted house, because it's really not. They're two wildly different things. One, people get paid to scare you, yes. The other one will scare you and can sometimes unalive people if you're not careful. So it's not so much something fun to do as something that needs to be respected, the paranormal field. And that's something we don't see right now, is a lot of, there's not a whole lot of respect as far as the paranormal, right? But I just watched a podcast today that was talking about Dr. James Lakatsky, who's long worked for the government. Says that about 30 years ago, they were seriously considering offering university courses in the paranormal that you could get credited degrees in. That's right, you heard that right. Our government was looking at the benefit of becoming a paranormal researcher or a paranormal investigator, etc. And they were going to create some sort of basic classwork that people could sign up for in college. Some form of degree in the paranormal. And I thought that was really interesting, because I bet you most of the public does not know that. So there's your little odd fact for the day that I picked up. By the way, I posted that on my page. It is a phenomenal podcast. And if you don't know Weaponized, you should. If you don't know who Jeremy Corbell is, you should. I love Jeremy because he pushes the envelope, and he has to go there for the goal of reporting ufology transparency, which is what we're fighting against. There is those who want all of it to be transparent, and there are those who really don't want anyone to know what's really going on at all. All right. And so George motherfucking Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, Ross Coldhart, all right, Richard Dolan, Stephen Greer, pay attention to those people. Okay. You may not like all of them, but all of them get up every single day, and what they want is the truth, as much of the truth as they can give humanity. All right. Now, that being said, there are some secrets that have to be kept secret. Most of us could agree that when it comes to worldwide security, that would be agreed. All right. Things like that, most humans don't need to know, but everything else, we'll see. The point is the podcast of Weaponized is really pushing Congress, who's being steered. And we, the public, have long suspected this for a long time, that even though Burchett and that task force are trying, they have others within the government that are like, no, you want to go that way. You want to follow those crumbs, because they don't want them to turn around and see what's right under their faces. All right. And so, that being said, that is who Weaponized is. That is what Ross Coldhart is really trying to do. Is he's trying to help people like Jeremy Corbell and Dolan and Knapp and Greer and others who really want all of us, me and you, Chris, to know what we can know safely. All right. So it ran about an hour and a half, I think, but they're one of my favorite podcasts. Like, yeah, I follow Jesse Michaels and I follow UAP Gerb and stuff like that, but they are all about the clicks. All right. They're all about being the podcasters they are. All right. That is their life. All right. They have to have those thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of views. That is their passion. All right. That is not how I look at myself as a podcaster. All right. I've said it many times. I'll say it again. If fame and affluence ever came to Paranormal Witchcraft LLC, it would be treated as a gift. And I'm not sure I would like to have that many followers because that's daunting. You have that many people looking up to you. We are just one team, right? And so I don't understand why humans go for the popularity so much in their passion. I get it. People are passionate about it. But when I see them going for the Y Files attainment, that amount of following, that is a self-centered thing. That's a problem. You don't need that many followers to be a happy person. I don't understand the millionaire mindset with the younger generations. I really don't. Okay? I don't understand why you all think you need millions of dollars to be happy as an entrepreneur. Why can't you be happy being a small business like myself and Paranormal Witchcraft? There's 10 of us. We don't make much, but it's the passion that drives us. Since when did people make it a popularity contest? I have to have 500 plus thousand followers on YouTube, or I'm not a worthy content creator. No, 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 no. That's the problem with the planet is everyone is trying to take the humanity out of everything. It's not okay to be a human being and talk to people like you would sitting next to them face to face having coffee. It has to be a certain topic. It has to be certain strict on YouTube or social media when you do a live. You can't just have a current event type live anymore. Why? Because no one else does that. That's not what you do. You got to do what everyone else does. You got to make the thumbnails. You got to share stuff 18,000 times so you get those clickbaits and the fun. No. No. My ego doesn't need that to be happy. Yours shouldn't either. It should be about the passion of paranormal investigating. It should be about the passion of all the paranormal and supernatural research we're doing. If affluence and blessings come, they're blessings. That's why I don't follow so many large, crowded podcasters because I can't stand that mentality. If you look at them, that's all they want is to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And when does it stop? When is it enough for them to be happy as individuals? You have to have that many followers to be a happy person. That is ridiculous to this human. Anything more than a few thousand followers, you really don't know who you're talking to anymore. There's too many people talking at you. Why do you need that much affluence? Why do you need that much money? That's where I'm at. That's where me and my wife look at it and go, I don't understand why baseball players need that much money, or sports, or newscasters, or actors, or any of them. What is wrong with you people? Because you're a doctor, you have to make $200,000 or you're not happy. You have to make 80,000 as a nurse or you're not happy. I don't understand that. You see how people take their egos and they overdo it because they can't help themselves. They have to be liked or they can't be happy. That's sad to someone like me. The fact that people push themselves that hard to get millions and millions and millions of followers. I don't understand why you need that type of security, especially when you're leaving that behind when you pass. None of this gets taken with you, whether it's legacy or not. That's the point, is people have forgotten what it means to be human. They think what it means to be human is you have to be rich, you have to be popular, and you have to be somebody. That's wrong. I don't know who taught you guys that, but that's wrong. And it doesn't matter if you're a witch or religious. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. Shouldn't matter at all, but it does. Why? That's what we're trying to answer, humans. Why your fear causes you to make such a choice. Nobody asked you to make that choice. People do it left and right every day. I'm this or I'm that. I'm this or I'm that. You give yourselves a label. Why? I'm Tobias Josephson. Yes, I'm a witch. Yes, I'm a researcher. Yes, I'm an investigator. But I'm also a father, a brother, a husband, a cat lover. Like, do you understand what we're saying? Fear is the problem on this planet. Fear. That's it. That's the end all be all of all of our problems. Fear. That we want to be the greatest civilization in the universe and we're not. Because we show it to each other every day how we're not. We're not refined. We're not as intelligent as we used to be. I think we're reverting and getting less intelligent because there's no bodies in the buildings anymore where people have to think on their feet and actually have to exercise, right? That's what I think. Because it's easier to be stuck in fear than it is to work through a fear. I'll say that again. It is easier to live with a fear and live in fear than it is to work through a fear. It's always going to be the path of least resistance for humans. Always. Might as well admit it, right? So, if you've noticed the world's on fire and you're just noticing, welcome to the party. A lot of us have been here for about 5 years now, wondering what the F is actually going on as it got worse and worse and worse, right? So, if you're just tuning in, welcome to Paranormal Witchcraft LLC. This week, we are using the week to talk about current events. Current events because they're just so wild that as I watch them, it's like, what are we watching? Everything's a sideshow, everything's a distraction of the truth. And then you go to social media and it gets even worse. Then it becomes storytelling and know-it-allism, all right? And political debates and any number of gross things that don't interest people like me. It's not about using our brains. I'm as smart as the next person. I don't want to argue about politics. I don't see the need. I don't see the point. Humans are humans. Stop calling it politics. Stop calling it religion. Stop calling it practicers. They're humans being humans. Enough with the labels. Everyone seems to have this infatuation for having a label. Why? Why do we have to have a label? Why does it make us feel special to have a label? You're not good enough by yourself. You can't be a good enough person on your own. You have to add any number of titles to make yourself and your ego feel good so you can roll out of bed every day. Is that where humanity is at? There's no self-control. There's no self-responsibility. There's no self-love that I see anywhere. All right? It's all propaganda to me. I think Chris would agree. And propaganda stems from fear. So in current events, those look like they might be simmering down for the moment. We'll see. All right. But nonetheless, I'm going to get off here. Ask yourselves that. What are we afraid of? Really, what is it? We're all going to pass on. It's just a matter of time. So what is it we're really afraid of in the here and now? It is the age of uncertainty that we're afraid of. We don't know what it is. We don't know what's happening. We don't know why. We're just all huddled together in crowds because we think we understand, but we don't. And it's that fear that keeps you stuck. It's that fear that keeps most of you under control. It's that fear that's going to keep you miserable. And it's that fear that's going to keep you irritable and discontent. I'd rather be happy than right. So call me crazy. But anyways, my friend. Yeah. It is a sad world, and it's only going to get sadder because most people, if you look, you're the only one tuning in. That shows and proves the point right there. That as human beings right now on this planet, wherever you may be on the other side of this screen, Ask yourself if you're being a real person or if you think you're being a real person. Ask yourself if you truly know who you are. Do you truly know what you stand for? Or do you do it because someone else does it? There's a saying from a movie, and it's kind of cliche, but it hits home tonight. Die for something or die for nothing, right? Maybe that's why people use labels. Could be. Labels turned into titles. Logically, that would make sense in my mind. So, have yourselves a great evening, friends. Chris, don't forget tomorrow at 2 p.m. we will have a Patreon at 2 p.m. Tomorrow's Thursday, right? Yes. And then Friday at 7 p.m. we will have our last current events, Age of Uncertainty live. I won't do a script for that one. There's really no need for a script. I think I kind of do it because I like the idea of it. Not really sure why now that I think about it. But enjoy your nights, my friend. But I will be coming back to social media. I might actually go there now and see how it goes. So give me a few minutes. Thank you for tuning in, Chris. Let's shut this thing down at 36 minutes or so. Thank you for tuning in to the Age of Uncertainty. We are Paranormal Witchcraft LLC. Please, friends out there, don't let the world keep you caught up in fear. Hey, Truth Tarot Readings, how are you? It's been a while. Maybe I will stay on a little longer since you're in here. We were talking about the age of uncertainty, and we're referring to the world's current events. I don't know if some of you remember back in school, in my age anyways, and I'll be 50, we used to have this thing called current events. I think it was in history class, right? We don't do that anymore. And so for the arc of fear this week, I decided to talk about current events because that's what makes the news, is people that makes people fear, things that make people fearful. You know, you have things going on with the government that people don't like, and they're raising chaos and hell, and they're starting all kinds of mischief across the country because they think it's going to do something. It's not. All right. I've watched our government my entire life. I've never seen any form of misbehavior or fear behavior, large group mass behavior because of the news actually ever change many things. Maybe occasionally, but very rarely does it anymore. Taking to the streets does not make a difference anymore. What it does do is make the world safe less for people like me and people like Chris and people like Truth Tarot Readings. We can't even drive down the road right now with some smart ass kid trying to run you over because he wants to go 200 in the 30. Right? So if you look at it that way, the whole world is on some kind of bullshit or living in fear. All right? Because our leaders of this world have stopped teaching responsibility. Our education systems have failed entire generations. I think my generation was probably the last generation to get a half-ass education, and I'll be 50. All right, so anyone younger than me, you probably really struggled in school. So that's what we were talking about, and then we were talking about how the fear narratives in paranormal witchcraft or paranormal investigating is a problem as well, where people like on TV, they always have to have a thumbnail. There always has to be a sense of urgency with their hunt. Because don't you know who that person is on TV, right? Irregardless of, I'll give you guys a real simple example. You ever notice how it doesn't matter which team investigates certain locations, every single time it's haunted? Every single time. Is that truthful? Or is it teams following other teams that don't have as much investigation experience being affected? And so when they hunt there too, they're already scared out of their wits before they get there because they've seen hundreds of teams do it. So now they have a preconceived notion of what to expect. It's a fear narrative. It's a pattern. If you look on social media, you can't help but see it. If you look on here, you can't help but see it either. If you type in the paranormal, that's all it is. It's urgency. It's demons chasing you down the hallway. It's shadow figures. It's creepy seances. It's Zozo. It's all kinds of crap, right? Because that's what sells. All right, in the paranormal, it's like the sex of paranormal. Most content creators of the paranormal feel like they can't be this transparent with people. They feel like they can never grow a channel this way. I'm here to prove them wrong. It might take us a long time to do it this way, but we will gain a following. We don't need the thousands or the millions like those other people on TV. None of you do. You just need the people you trust to investigate with. And by trust, I mean like almost put down your life for you trust, because trust is a hard thing to come by right now on this planet as well. All right. And that's the thing with the age of uncertainty is we don't really know who to trust anymore. We're not sure we trust our governments. Doesn't matter what country you're in. Governments are all in trouble. Right. And so there's a common bond as humans, high, right? And as paranormal investigators, does that not affect our lives as well? When I have a couple events with Blue Mountain Paranormal in this spring, Matt and team, I believe end of April and end of May, and gas prices are still high, you bet your ass that's going to affect our world because of what just happened overseas. I'm not going to let that fear get in my way. I'm not going to let that fear of the news, of the impending doom every day, stop me from my dreams. And yet, if you look on social media, there's a lot of people that do it. They're a victim right now. 998 is on fire. I can tell you that because my wife is a mental health clinician. That's what she does all night, 6 days a week, 60, 70 hours a week, if at least. And I can tell you what she's getting because it's HIPAA. I'm not going to give names. I can't hear names, thank God, but I hear bits and pieces. Addiction. People are just scared. I'm not kidding you. People are calling the crisis line because they're scared of what they're seeing in the news. Domestic abuse. Family structure is gone. There's people leaving children in hospitals overnight because they have to work. The world's just nuts, okay? Just nuts right now. Absolutely. I'm not one of those parents. One of my daughters went to the ER. I'm staying there all night. And if I have to work, I understand how tough the world is right now. But guess what? I'm going to make it work. See what I mean? There's just a culture of fear being pushed right now. And what we're trying to get people to understand is you're allowing that to affect your daily life. If you look at, like, I have family members that are very religious. And right now, they're pushing hard right now on their religion because of fear, because of the mainstream news outlets. I'm going to say it again. When our time is up, our time is up. When my time is up, my time is up. I can't stop it. There's nothing I can do against that. So why live in such paralyzing fear that you have to turn the world away? Why live in such paralyzing fear where you can't talk to a common person anymore? Why live in such a state of fear where you can't even trust people on social media? Good points, huh? And then what do people do? They look for something to blame. It's not them, it's the rest of it's not them, it's the rest of the world why they are the way they are, right? That's victim mentality. DARVO mentality, where you turn things around because it's easier for you to be a victim of the world around you than it is to push through it and keep living. So All right. Take all that for what it is, but it truly is the age of uncertainty right now. There is so much craziness going on that makes absolutely not one lick of sense. And it all ties back to one word: fear. If people can convince you to be afraid, they can control you. What you think, what you say, what you do, sometimes even where you'll work. Right? And that's sad. Now, that being said, I've never been one of those human beings. I've always been one of these human beings that's, I guess, for lack of a better term, I don't want to use this guy's nickname, but there's a guy on social media who calls himself the lone wolf. So this is in no way attached to that man. All right. But to be a lone wolf, if you will, you have to be more like someone like me. Someone who is more of a real gypsy, someone who was born robbed of his childhood. My parents one of my parents gave me away, the other one disowned me because of it. So I was robbed of a childhood. That's what part of the reason why I am a lot of the ways I am is because I have mental fractures, and I talk about them openly all the time because people make fun of me all the time for it. People pass over talking to me or being a friend to me because at first they just think I'm a crazy, insane lunatic, but they don't understand that it's past traumas. All right. Hence my book, Haunted: Living with the Ghosts of Traumas. Some ghosts aren't at a location, some ghosts aren't physical. Some ghosts are a lot like silent illnesses. All right. And they will do things to you and they will change you and you will become a different person because of them. Does that mean I'm a bad person because I grew up parentless? No. No, it doesn't. But it makes me harder than most people because I've had to survive on my own pretty much. My sister raised me and I'm grateful she has, her and her husband, but it does not replace a mother and a father. All right. So I want you to think about what that's like. I want you to think about every holiday. I want you to think about growing up in the world and then raising a family on your own without having parental guidance as you grew. See, that's something my daughters don't understand yet. And I hope as they get older, they do. One will be 16 in about a week, and the other one's 21. So I hope as they have more life experience, they eventually see that dad, sadly, is trying to work through all these cracks in my mentality. But, I've had to work really hard from where I was. I was a really shitty father because of it. I was more self-centered than not. And, I told part of my story the other day through my addiction where I actually stole from my children, etc. But, and so I've had to reteach myself what it means to be a human. I've had to teach myself certain things and how to behave around certain crowds of people during my life because there was nobody there to tell me how to react, how to feel, how this or how that. Nobody sat me down and had the birds and the bees talk. Nobody sat me down and taught me how to shave, right? I taught myself how to drive. I mean, I've always had to be one of those people because I didn't have a mom and a dad. I did for my first 5 years, but they were trying to kill each other all the time. All right. And so in my fractured young mind, that was normal, but it wasn't, even though it scared me. And once I got taken away from that, I didn't know what the hell was going on. All right. And so I went to therapy for like 3 years from the time I was 7 to the time I was 10. Right. And I'm still fucked up. So, all right. And so there's something to be said for these silent traumas, these silent ghosts that we carry that form personality traits and things about who I am that I may not even realize come out in my personality. Chris might see it. Truth Tarot Readings might see it in my personality, but I won't see it, unless you guys tell me you see it in my personality and I'm not aware of it yet, I probably don't see it. Like, I suspect I have a touch of narcissism. All right. That's something that I discovered about myself, but I think everybody does. But, anyways, so I went way off tangent here and went on a mental health tangent. But so that being said, my friends, that's probably why I don't live in fear. I don't live in constant doom. I don't live in constant fear that the world's going to end, or, that a WA blank is going to happen overseas. I just can't. Life's too short to be holding my breath all the time and looking. I'm just one of those people who, I've survived 50 years the way I am. I just don't see why I should be changing for the rest of the world because it's socially accepted. That's a word I hate. It's socially accepted. There's another one of those labels again, right? You can't say dead, you have to say unalive, and just all this weird crap. We can't say alien, we got to say, NHI. Like, this is the problem, all right, is people are stuck, all right, on living in fear, all right, and disinformation, all right. Living in fear and disinformation is where we're at right now, all right. Very few people really know what's going on the planet right now, and that includes myself. A lot of us have a pretty good idea that it's fucked up. That's not hard to see. You just turn on the TV and go, oh God, oh God, oh God. And that's how I know that we are in the age of uncertainty, because we got people acting fools left and right because they don't know how to act. They're afraid of something. They're not going to tell you they're afraid of something. They're not going to admit it. But if you look close, their personal pattern will show. They'll post it over and over again because they just can't stop thinking about it, because it threatens them in some way, their beliefs, their opinions, their something, right? And I disagree with the rest of humanity in that way. I think we disagree with each other too much on a daily basis. I think that's also part of the problem. There's a difference between being transparent and respectful, all right? Again, that goes back to responsibility. And then, I do the best I can on my end. I keep my side of the street clean. I keep sweeping my side of the street clean. Paranormal Witchcraft too, and Brotherhood of Male Witches and admins. All right. But as far as the rest of humanity, they're on their own. Okay. Because I don't have any control over them. I don't control Truth Tarot readings. I don't control Chris. I don't control YouTube. I can control myself and the amount of space I can stretch my arms at. That's it. That's all we control on this planet. We don't control space. We don't control time. We don't control people. We don't control places or things. That's an illusion. All right. And perhaps that's why so many people are living in a constant sense of fear. Could be. Don't know. So, that being said, I'm going to jump off here. You guys have yourselves a beautiful evening. Don't forget to tune in Friday at 7 for our last fear arc on current events. Like I said, I don't see anyone really doing anything on current events right now at all. I just see people doing topics on lives. It's either paranormal, witchcraft, paranormal, witchcraft, paranormal, witchcraft. There's nobody taking time to address members. There's nobody taking the time to talk about what's really going on behind the scenes, talking about real world shit. Everybody's just too busy to slow down. And that's what I disagree with. All right. It is not that serious. All right. It's really not. I'm sorry if I ruffled some feathers out there, and I'll probably get some hate mail and ignore it because it is what it is. You're always on someone's list for saying things a certain way, and then they attribute it to however they're feeling when they read it, right? Happens all the time. But somebody has to ask the harder questions. Why is there so much fear mongering going on right now? Because it makes people feel good about themselves when they do that. Everybody feels the shift right now, but nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to really talk about the real issues, how divided we are. We can't even be friends if you're Democrat or Republican because don't you know? And I think that's just silly, immature behavior. That's like disavowing your best friend because you found out he's one or the other. I would never do that to any of my family or friends. I'll unfollow or unfriend on social media, but I'll never hate you for it. That's the whole thing about disagreement is you don't have to prove a point day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out, because that's called being right. And when you have to be right, you're not happy. You're not a happy person when you have to be right. Think about it. Because usually, if you have to be right, you're doing what? You're arguing or debating with somebody on how you're right and they're wrong. That's totally unnecessary on planet Earth. I disagree with Chris. I don't say anything. Key point, Kristen Witch. That's why I never really said much about it. I disagree with it. I don't feel the need to slap people in the face, right? Because people do have to start learning on their own. Again, I think is probably the key. People need to learn who they are again. People need to take a step back and figure out who they are again. What do you like? Do you like it because they like it? Or do you like it because it's popular and you think people will like you if you like it? Like I said, people do some funny things for acceptance. You'd be surprised. Right? And as somebody who's been chewed up, spit out, and booed off stage more times than he can count, and yet I still get up on stage, right? What does that say? Right? That says Paranormal Witchcraft team members, Holly, Sandy, Fonda, Alex, and the others, and myself, we're not like everybody else. We truly approach the world differently. Means we have empathy, but we know when to turn it off, right? We may seem silent for a reason, but our silence isn't ignorance. Okay. And there's nothing wrong talking about what's going on in our personal lives. You'll never see people on podcasts do this to this extent. It's usually 5 or 10 minutes and they'll get back to the podcast. I don't see anybody getting up on camera talking about their lives, asking the members how their lives are going. It's rough out there, isn't it, Chris? It's rough out there, isn't it, Rachel? It's fucking tough, right? I started a business last year, and a lot of people say, well, it failed. I don't look at it that way because I'm an ex addict, right? Which means I could be an addict again any day. It's a personal choice, one day at a time. It's how I live my life, one day at a time. That is why I don't live in fear. If I live in fear like yesterday, I had some stuff going wrong with some tech stuff I was doing, and I was stuck in a sense of anxiety all day long because of it. Right? Now, look at social media closer after that statement. Think about how many posts you read where somebody might have been feeling like that, just on edge. And that's what I don't like about social media is it's all the typing in the chat and there's no faces or voices to go with it. I'm old fashioned. I want to know Rebecca face to face. I want to know Chris face to face. Moon, Matt, Phil. I want to see you face to face on camera. Right? It just seems to me if people are interviewed on podcasts and stuff, it's almost on purpose to debate each other. But why? Why is that? Because it makes a good podcast? Because there's a personal beef? Because it gets ratings and clicks? CTR is what it's called here. I don't know. Right? But when have people actually sat down one on one and talked about current events between paranormal investigators or between witches? They're doing it in Messenger, but nobody's doing it in real time on camera. So I thought this week we would try it. Right? And now that we have a name for this age, I love it. It's going to stick now. It is the age of uncertainty, where we don't know what the fuck's going on planet Earth. We don't know who's real, who's not, who's telling the truth, who's not, who to trust, who not, and who not to. I think that's a pretty sad spot to be in as far as human beings are concerned. Especially if we're this super intelligent race on this planet. I think it's pretty sad that this is where we're at. In a world full of hate, rage, violence, any number of debauchery. And we expect it to get much better with AI, and nobody knows how to use it yet. I don't know. Sounds like something I may or may not want to be looking forward to. Put it that way. I see the benefits of AI, but I see way too many things wrong with it. And it's just come out. So don't shoot the messenger, friends. Maybe I'm a little old school because I like books. I like the fact that I can go to those books. I can read them anytime I want. That I don't have to spend my life on the internet. I happen to like that. There's a real world out here that I get to enjoy, and that I don't need to be a slave to be important, that I don't need to be a slave to be famous, that I don't need to be a slave to be happy. So, that being said, my friends, have yourselves a great evening. We'll see you Friday at 7.